Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Zero Limits Living. Every week, I bring you information and inspiration to transform your life. I'm Dr. Joe Vitale, and I want to thank you because in the short time the show has been on the air, we've already grown so that you can see this or hear this on 1,000 different platforms across the galaxy. Rumor has it, it's going to be heard on Mars next. So this thing is blossoming. It is exploding, and I want to thank you for making it so. I'm putting all the episodes on a website to make it easy for you to find them. So if you go to ZeroLimitsLivingTV.com, ZeroLimitsLivingTV.com, you can pack a lunch, bring your popcorn, get your wine, whatever you need, and binge and watch everything. I'm posting them as we do them. Also, I want to tell you, people ask all the time about how do I accelerate my transformation? The easiest thing that's been in my life has been coaching. And because of coaching, 20 years ago, I developed a coaching program called Miracles Coaching. It has been proven, it has been tested, it has been trademarked, and it has been going around the world. So check it out. You can have a free consultation. Simply go to miraclescoaching.com, miraclescoaching.com. All right. Well, my guest, I am beyond grateful, beyond excited, because the man I have here, I have known for over 20 years. I knew him before The Secret. He was in the movie The Secret with me, and I still know him after The Secret. So that says a whole lot about our journey through time. He has so much experience, so much information, and so much inspiration to share with you. I can't wait to get to it. So let's do it. Let me read his introduction, which I need to put my glasses on to see. John Assaraf is one of the leading high-performance coaches in the world. He is a behavioral neuroscience researcher who has appeared numerous times on Larry King Live, Anderson Cooper, and the Ellen DeGeneres Show. He grew Remax of Indiana from startup to 85 offices and 1,200 sales associates who sold over $4 billion. John was also one of the founders of Bamboo.com that went public with a market cap of $2.5 billion. John has written 4 books, including 2 New York Times bestsellers that have been translated to 35 languages. They include The Street Kid's Guide to Having It All, and The Answer, and The Complete Vision Board Kit. He is the creator of the Inner Size movement and has been featured in 11 movies, including the blockbuster that I just mentioned, The Secret. He was also in Quest for Success with Richard Branson and the Dalai Lama. John lives in San Diego with his wife and 2 sons. In addition to being a vegan, meditator, avid skier, and ocean lover, he loves traveling the world and making some of the tastiest hot sauces using some of the hottest peppers on the planet. Oh, word. Today, he is CEO of MyNeuroGym.com, a neuroscience-based company dedicated to helping individuals strengthen their mindset so they achieve their goals and dreams faster and easier than ever before. Please welcome my friend, John Assaraf. Standing ovation, my friend.
Vitale, great to see you, my friend, and thank you for such a well-read intro. My team did a great job putting that together.
They did indeed. Well, it's all deserving. It's all you. My God, you have so much success. But you know, out of all of that, what I'm most interested in, your hot sauce.
The hot sauce.
I didn't even know you were making hot sauces. When did you start doing that?
My kids and I started creating some probably about 10 years ago. Wow. And I actually wanted to create a hot sauce company. And I offered my kids, Keenan and Noah, 27 and 25 now, the opportunity to build a company. I said, I'll teach how to build a company. You take it over. And so we started actually to do it. And then they really wanted me to build the company and give them all the proceeds. But we've loved hot sauces ever since I was a kid. My father was from North Africa, and he ate make really hot sauces, very, very spicy. So I just developed this palate for hot sauces. And then my mother was a cook. And so she made phenomenally tasting foods. And so I took some of the hot sauces and some of the flavors that I like, combined them together. And we actually came up with a line of hot sauces that's not on the market because my kids bailed out on me, Joe. Can you believe it?
Yes, I can believe it.
The company was called My Dad's Hot Sauce Company, and the actual hot sauce was called Tears of Joy. So we got it that far, and then they said, nah, we don't want to do it. So there you go.
That is good. Well, I thought you were following in the steps of Paul Newman. When he came out with his sauces, he made more money from his sauces than he ever did as an actor. Yeah. And I always loved the fact that he also gave away the money.
That's right.
From the sauces. Yeah. What is their sauce called? Tears of Joy?
Well, the sauce that we had created was called Tears of Joy, because it was like you'd have tears, but it would be so happy and such a good feeling that
I got it. I got it. The marketing guy in me acknowledges that. That is a good one. Tears of Joy. Well, you mentioned your mother and father, and I want to go back because people may know you from The Secret. They may know you from your best-selling books. They may know you from the movement you have going on with Inner Size and everything around that. And we'll get to that. But what they may not know is that you were not an altar boy growing up. You were not an altar boy. Can you confess to what life was like for young Johnny, who was running because the peppers were too hot in the house, or wherever you were running from or running to?
Yeah, listen, when I was a kid, grew up in a normally dysfunctional family. Perfect.
Normally dysfunctional, yeah.
Yeah. So my parents moved from Israel, where I was born, when I was right around 5 years old, to Montreal. And so I was just learning, how to read and write Hebrew. And then I go to Montreal, where they spoke English and French. And I was put in a public school with about 55 kids per class. And nobody had the time to teach me the alphabet, to teach me what I needed to learn. My mother, father, sister, and brother all had to, basically learn English on the fly. And I quickly got behind in school and got into trouble in school because I was bugging all the other kids. And by the time I was in grade 2, I was behind, getting into a lot of trouble and feeling like I wasn't smart enough, to learn this. And I really, really struggled, got into a lot of trouble with kids in school, mostly because I was, active, and I just wouldn't sit there for the whole day, other than look at the ceilings. I'd bug the other kids. So I was in the principal's office quite a bit. And by the time grade 5, 6, 7 came along, I was 2 years behind. I didn't do well on tests. I failed English, failed math, and was sitting outside the principal's office most of the time. And that was how my beginning life in Montreal happened. And by the time I was 13, 14, 15, I was running with a street gang, doing breaking and entries, stealing in shops, doing drugs, selling drugs, and everything else you can imagine as part of a group of about 10, 12 kids. And had a lot of trouble with detention centers, the law, and my parents. And I knew that it was the wrong thing to do, but I didn't know what to do. And my parents didn't know how to help me. My father was a cab driver working probably 12, 13 hours a day. My mother worked as a local seamstress at a department store. And so my brother and sister, who came home from school, also had homework to do. They were struggling on their own. And lo and behold, I spent a lot of time, on the streets of Montreal with this little street gang. And
there had to be an interruption. There had to be an interruption of some sort, because you were not that person today.
Yeah.
What took place?
So listen, at 17, I left high school in grade 11, started to work in a computer company, packaging boxes and taking stuff out of boxes that came in and out of the shipping department. And around 18, right around 18, 19, about a year and a half into that, I was still doing illegal stuff, but the consequences were getting a lot more serious, and really jail or the morgue was the track that I was on. And my brother and my sister, who were very concerned for my well-being, had discussions with me. And then my brother one day called me up, and he was living in Toronto, Canada, which is about 350 miles away. He said, listen, I teach this guy, his name is Mr. Alan Brown, tennis, and he'd be willing to meet you for lunch and see if he can help you. And I said, great, that's great. He said, come down to Toronto and let's have lunch with him. So I took the train from Montreal to Toronto. My brother picked me up, went to lunch. And at lunch, this man who was he was a really nice guy, just simple, plain, nice guy, nothing out of the ordinary, well-groomed. He asked me, like, what do I want to achieve in my life? And I said, I'd like to buy a car. I'd like to move out of my parents' house. And I'd like to be able to have a great job. And he goes, that's all nice and dandy, but what would you really like to achieve? And I said, I don't know. And this was after he asked me, why was I doing the things that I was doing? And I said, I wanted to make some money. I wanted to fit in. I didn't think I was smart enough. I left high school in grade 11. They were happy when I left. So he gave me this document, Joe, and you'll appreciate this more than most. He gave me this document, and it was the 1980 goal setting guide. Mm. And so I take this document, and he says, listen, I want you to sit at the table next to us and just to answer these questions as best as you can, and then we'll look at it. I said, okay, sure, Mr. Brown. So I sat there like I was back in school. First question, at what age do you want to retire? I said, what? Mr. Brown, what am I supposed to put as an answer here? I'm 19. And he said, just pick a number. And I said, well, my father isn't retired. Like, what's a number to pick? He said, just come up with a number. I said, 45, 26 years later. Second question, how much net worth do you want to have upon retirement? I looked at Mr. Brown. I said, Mr. Brown, what does net worth mean? He told me. So I put $3 million. Third question, what kind of home would you like? What kind of car would you like? Where would you like to travel? Who would you like to help? So I just started writing out Mercedes-Benz, 4-bedroom house, travel all over the world, first class, Italian clothes, retire my parents, buy them a house. I just wrote down all this stuff. Mr. Brown looked at this document and he says, this is a really great life that you'd like to live. And I said, well, yeah. He said, where'd you get these ideas? And I said, well, I watched this show on TV called The Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous with a guy by the name of Robin Leach.
Right.
And I said, if I'm going to give an idea, a fantasy life, which is what he asked me to do, I picked a fantasy life. He said, I'm going to ask you one question. And the answer to this one question will determine whether you achieve every single one of these things. And as you can imagine, I'm thinking in the back of my head, yeah, sure, mister. One question. So he leans in and he says, are you interested in achieving these things, or are you committed to achieving them?
I could just get chills.
And I go, well, excuse me, sir? What's the difference? He said, listen, son, if you're interested, you'll come up with stories and reasons and excuses why you can't do this. If you're interested, you'll use your old story about school and your parents not doing well and your grades and leaving high school, and you'll allow all of your old thinking and old conditioning and old training and your current circumstances to control what you do or don't do. He says, but if you are committed, you will do whatever it takes. You will upgrade your identity to match this new destiny. You will upgrade your beliefs, your habits, your knowledge, and your skills, because every one of these goals is achievable. So are you interested, or are you committed? I'm getting chills right now talking to you. I got him hearing you about my back. And he leaned in. I was scared, excited and scared. You know that feeling? And so I don't know.
That's why. The perfect place to be, excited and scared.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I leaned in. Well, Mr. Brown, I'm committed. And he leans over, reaches out his hand and says, in that case, son, I will be your mentor. And I go, oh, wow, Mr. Brown, thank you. What's a mentor? And that was the beginning of my life. One man, one question, one answer transformed the trajectory of my life. Because then he says, great, first thing I need you to do, I need to move from Montreal to Toronto. I said, I don't have a job here. What do you mean move from Montreal to Toronto? I said, listen, I need you here. If you want me to mentor you, I need you here. I have a real estate company. You can come work for me. I said, but doing what? He says, a real estate agent. I said, real estate agent? I don't know anything about real estate. Stop. Make a decision first. All the rest comes after that. I said, I know, but I don't know anybody here. I don't have a place to live. I don't know anything about real estate. I don't have money. He says, stop. You're giving me stories and excuses again. Catch yourself how fast you're doing that. He says, winners make decisions, then figure out how after. So I said, fine, I'll move from Montreal to Toronto. And my brother was with me, and he said, hey, Johnny, you can like stay with me for a while. And if you want, you can use my car. I said, great. Mr. Brown then says, second thing, I need you to enroll into the real estate school because there's one that starts on May the 5th, 1980. True story, true dates, true story. May the 5th, 1980. There's a 5-week course, 9 to 5. You need to pass a test. You get your real estate license. You come work for me. He said, I said, hold on. You want me to go back to school? I left school.
I just escaped.
I'm not good at this. He goes, look at how fast you go back to what you can't do. He said, are you interested? Are you committed? I said, well, I'm committed, but I'm not very good in school. I proved my test. I cheated to get out of school. So I can't give him these stories. I don't have money. How much is it? He says $500. $500. I only have like $40 to my name. He says, make a decision, figure out how after. He said this like 10 times. I said, fine, I'll move here. I'll take the course. I'll cut the story short, Joe. Moved to Montreal after or about 3 weeks later, enrolled in the real estate school at Humber College, studied my little Assaraf off with his help and one of the other agents' help in the office, passed the test on June 20th, 1980. I got my certificate. And then he says to me, awesome, congratulations, I'm proud of you. Now you can come work for me. And I said, awesome, how much do I get paid? He goes, paid? You're on commission only. I'll teach you how to make money. And so I'm like, what? No, at least I was making $1.65 before in Montreal. Now I'm making $0. That's how my career began. I became a real estate agent. Over the first 6 months, I made $30,000 on a 50-50 commission split by him teaching me what to do. Next 12 months, I made $150,000 because he taught me some scripts of what to do on the phones. And my career took off. And I made $180,000 in 18 months, which is way more money than I ever thought was possible. And my real estate career took off. And then I ended up starting my own real estate company 6 years later, opened up 85 offices and 1,200 associates over the next 10 years. So that's kind of like the shortened version of the trajectory change.
John, that's one of the most inspiring and instructive stories I have ever heard, and I had not heard that from you before. So thank you for sharing. What I want to know is, did he have a role as being a mentor to others? Yeah. Were you singled out, or was he going and collecting people and helping them?
Well, as part of his business, he was looking for real estate agents. And back in the day, you hired new people and you trained them. So his training process was in group fashion. Like he and I rarely sat together, for more than 5 minutes. But he said, here's the back then, you may remember the cassettes you need to listen to.
Of course.
Here's the books you need to read. So you obviously Think and Grow Rich. Tommy Hopkins on selling and handling objections, and all of the Dennis Waitley's, the Brian Tracy's, all of the old masters. He had their libraries, and he just started to fill my brain with cassette tapes on my way to work, on the way home, every day. This is a critical piece because I still do it today. I'll show it to you.
Yeah,
so
please.
Every day, he used to, when we came into the office, do you remember he had me write out my goals and my vision? He had me review it every morning. When I came into the office, we added, what would I need to believe in order to achieve these goals? What skills would I need to upgrade? Every day, all of us at the office had to review our goals, run our finger, right hand, left hand, right hand, left hand. Then we recorded it. Then we listened to it. Then we would look at it. And this document that I have here right now, which is my exceptional life
blueprint.
It has everything in pictures, either my life that I'm living or the things that I'm creating, but it also has everything for health, wealth, relationships, career, business in here that I look at every day to this day.
Oh, that's so illuminating, John.
I prime my brain every day to give my brain the instruction of this is the stuff I've achieved. Wow, this is the stuff I want you, brilliant genius brain of mine, to help me achieve, so that my attention units are being invested consciously and subconsciously on figuring out how to do it. So there's a couple little.
Those are huge. Yeah. That's huge. We can drop the mic and go home. My God,
right is all of it. There's, I don't know, 160 pages, including my outer mission, my inner mission, results that I've achieved. I mean, everything's in this book. The story of my life, results, my big why, all of it is in here for me to review every day. And the reason is because my life matters. And I want to make sure that I trade my life for what I love.
And does your wife have the same book or one of her own?
She and I set goals each year. Because of my goals, she gets to achieve a lot of her goals. And so she makes sure that I can achieve my goals. She has her own goals. Okay. They're not as defined as mine are. And she is totally happy with that.
That's beautiful. Yeah. You have a beautiful wife and a beautiful relationship. So I know you both. I've seen you both together. Is this also how you transformed your body? Yeah. Because you posted a lot on Instagram and Facebook about the journey you were taking. Is that in your blueprint? Is that part of what you were working on?
Well, it's easy for me to tell you yes, but it's probably better if I show you. When I was 48, I was 243 pounds, 33% body fat, hypertensive, borderline diabetic. And I said, hold on a second here. I'm doing really well in this and this and this area of my life, but I've let my physical side go. Why don't I use the same brain training methods that I have, for that? So I started to cut out pictures, of people in their 60s and 70s.
Right.
And I used that as my inspiration for what I wanted, my physique to look like. And so I created the images. There's one. Here's another one of another guy. I don't know these guys. And I started to use, the occipital lobe and the visual processing part of my brain to get an image of somebody that I thought looked healthy. And then I did the same process of what do I need to believe in order for me to get that healthy? What does my sleep need to be like? What does my food pattern need to be like? What does my exercise pattern need to be like? And then I asked myself the ultimate question I ask all the time. Hey, John, are you interested in having a physique like that, or are you committed? And I've learned to ask myself this question, Joe, for any goal that I have. I don't take the first step unless I have that discussion with me and the guy in the mirror. Because we all want this, and I want that, and I want that, and that would be great. But especially, in our adult years, the wanting of the goal is important and fun. Would be nice to have, but the change required to actually achieve it, well, that takes a little bit more effort than our little brains want to take. So if I'm not committed, I set it aside because I have to master change, or I'm going to master disappointment. I don't want to master disappointment.
Right. Okay. So this is where I got to pretend that I am the agent for the people that watch the show or listen to the show. If there are people that are getting excited and they're going, well, I heard about vision boards. And in fact, you're famous, John, for the vision board story in the movie The Secret about your house and having a picture of it and so forth. And now you live in that house. But what if somebody's watching and they're going, well, first of all, I'm not sure what I want. Or if they can't answer what they want, they're in the it'd be really nice to have it phase, and they can't quite step over the line to a decision commitment. I'm doing this phase.
Sure.
What would you advise?
So, two-part answer. Part one of the answer is if you wanted to build a home and you were talking with a builder, and she asked you, well, how many bedrooms would you like? Would you like 2 stories or 1 story? 1 bathroom, 2 bathrooms, or 3? Big lot or small lot? Big windows or small windows? So first and foremost, the thing to remember is our brain, and we don't like ambiguity, because ambiguity creates doubt. And when we have doubt, we actually deactivate the motivational center in the brain, which is the motive for action center in the brain. And the motivational center of the brain is connected to the behavioral cortex in the brain. So that means that if I don't have the motive for action, I don't have a reason to act, therefore I'm going to just stay stuck in my comfort zone. So the first thing I would say is take the time to start eliminating what you don't want. Well, I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want that, I don't want that, and I don't want that. I say, great. Well, what's one thing you do want? Well, I would like this. Great. So now we start to create at least a moving forward frame so that we can step towards something. Indecision keeps us stuck. At least decision, moving forward, moves us forward. So that's part one. The second part of the other part of your question was? It was
about making the decision. They're in the wish phase. They haven't crossed the line to go, I'm doing it, the commitment phase.
So first thing that I would ask is, if you could achieve X, whatever X is, and you would not and could not fail, would you move forward and do it? If you say I want that, but you could not and would not fail, would you move forward and do it? And let's say your answer is yes, I would. Then I would say, okay, then there's only one of 4 things holding you back. There's only 4 things that hold us back for the most part. So number one is, well, you may not know how to achieve it. So you have self-doubt. You may have, uncertainty. And again, when we have self-doubt or uncertainty, the neurological reaction to self-doubt and uncertainty is stop, freeze, don't do anything, or go do something else. Do something else that's more in your comfort zone. Why? Because whenever we have doubt or uncertainty, there's a chance of failure, right? And so most people in their subconscious mind, which I know you're also an expert in, failure means to them that I'm a failure, not that something I tried didn't work. So first we have to understand, if you're lacking the knowledge and skill, and that's causing you not to take action, then you say, okay, what would I need to learn, or whose help can I elicit to make progress and move forward? So now I can eliminate that from one of my obstacles or limitations. Number 2, let's say that you want to achieve something, but there is a chance that you might fail. You might be embarrassed, ashamed, ridiculed, judged, rejected, unloved, disappointed. Then the very nature of how our brains work says that I'm going to move away from real or imagined danger as quickly as possible. That's just a biological reaction, to something that might happen. So I might be embarrassed, I might be ashamed. And if number 3 is in place, meaning I don't feel like I deserve that success, or I can't handle the emotion of being embarrassed, now I say, okay, well, what would have to happen in order for me to be okay if I failed? What would have to happen for me not to give a shit if somebody ridiculed me? Like, what would have to happen for me to upgrade my self-image, self-worth, and self-concept of myself? So what you say about me, if I fail, doesn't really matter to me. So now we're dealing with possibly a knowledge and skills issue. We may be dealing with a fear issue, not knowing how to handle the emotion of fear. We may be dealing with a self-image issue. Or the fourth thing is I just may have limiting beliefs. Well, I don't have enough information. I don't have the knowledge. I don't have the skill. I'm too young. I'm too old. I'm too black, too white, too Asian, Caucasian. I live too far. COVID this, COVID that, war here, war. Like I can use all of that as the reason, story, or excuse. And so then I'm going to go and ask a question. If it was possible to recognize and then manage your way safely to deal with those things, and you could actually achieve that goal, would you want to be bigger than those things? Would you want to learn how? So when we say I can't because, or we don't because we don't even know why, we're unconsciously behaving a certain way, then the real question is, do I really want to achieve that goal? Or am I going to allow some things that maybe I don't know how to deal with to be bigger than my goal? So now we want to get into a little bit of, cognitive wrestling, right? Where we want to observe patterns, whether it's my negative thought patterns, my negative emotional patterns, my disempowering behavioral patterns, and go, so that's what's really holding me back. And now we can, do a variety of whether it's exercises or exercises to overcome the obstacles, to shatter the limitations so that we become a little bit more unstoppable.
That is absolutely beautiful, John. And you're very generous to give all of that in terms of tips that people can use and run with right now.
Anytime.
My question, thank you for that. Thank you on behalf of everybody. You are doing amazing work. Your books, your work, your exercise, you are just on the leading edge of all of it, making a difference for everybody, including me. My question is, can people easily do this alone? The reason I ask is you even had your mentor who kind of interrupted and redirected your life when you're 18 or 19 years old. And we both know the value of coaching. But can you do this by yourself? Can you do it as a solo thing, or is that just not a wise choice? I mean, what is your take? I don't want to put words in your mouth. What is your take on it?
Listen, can you do it alone? Yes.
Okay.
Can you watch YouTube videos and like, give me a second.
Sure.
I'm going to bring some props. Hold on.
I'm going to give your website out while you're doing it. You have a free offer and I think it's 6 or 7 steps that you're giving at myneurogym.com/0limits. And Nick will put it on the screen for everybody. www.myneurogym.com/0limits.
Yeah. So let's just use, I like visuals.
Sure.
Have you ever tried, and this for everybody who's listening or watching, have you ever tried to solve the Rubik's Cube?
I think everybody has before they threw it out the window or against the wall or ran over it. Yes.
So let's have a little bit of fun. Is it solvable? Is the 2x2 solvable? The 3x3, the 4x4, the 5x5, are they solvable?
As I understand it, I would say yes.
So you can have the 2x2. And if you don't know what to do, you could spend hours, if not days. You can have the 3x3. You could spend hours, if not days. The 4x4. Okay. You can have the 5x5, or you could actually even learn how to do the granddaddy. I've never seen one of those. Yeah. So here's the question, an answer to your question. Yes, you could try and do this all on your own, but you can also go to YouTube and follow instructions and have this solved in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You can do this all on your own and try 1,000,000 years of possible combinations, which is true for this. Or go to YouTube and learn it, or hire a coach, or get a book. And so is it possible to do it on your own? Sure, but it's so much easier. This is all algorithm-based. Training your brain is algorithm-based. Achieving any goal in 2022, 2023, any goal, people like you have the answer. People like me have the answer. Our other people have the answer. You want to learn how to be a cook? Why not learn the recipes? You want to get a person to Mars? Why not be on the innovation team that's doing that? Because it's so much easier to do it when we have help. Is it solvable on your own? Sure. And some people have the basic abilities for the deductive reasoning needed to do this, and others just need to be taught that. So if you want to take the fast lane instead of the short, slow lane, learn from somebody who's an expert at doing it, then be innovative. So that's my answer.
That is a fantastic answer. And I love the show and tell effect. I felt like I turned into Mr. Rogers or something, and I'm just watching the show. And here we have the Rubik's Cube. Well, this raises the question, though. There is actually no shortage of information on how to do virtually anything anybody could name. It's there. You can Google it. You can YouTube it. So the bigger question is, and this is where I want your answer, what stops us from doing it? Somebody's sitting there and they want to learn how to play the saxophone. And it's like they're sitting there thinking they want to play the sax. Yes, go ahead.
That stops us from doing it. So this is, the most powerful biocomputer in the known universe. I'm not talking about the plastic brain. I'm talking about the human brain. I think it's worth over $100 billion. And what stops most people is this. And I know you're going to know the answer to this, but I'll give you another visual, which I like. Do you remember back in the 50s and even in the early 60s, some cars came out of the factory with a governor or restrictor plate on it?
Some cars still do,
right?
Depending on where you go and what you're buying. Yes.
So imagine if you had a Tesla, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Rolls-Royce, Cadillac, whatever beautiful car you might like, and imagine it can go 150 miles an hour, but out of the factory, there was a governor on it that doesn't allow the car to go more than 60 miles an hour. No matter how hard you hit the pedal, it doesn't go more than 60 miles an hour, even though it can go 150. So the question is, how do I take this governor off? How do I take the governor off because there's something restricting it?
In back in the 70s, we lifted the hood and we tore it out.
Right. And you're a car collector and lover. So that makes sense. So the question then becomes, what's going on in here that no matter how much information I gather, no matter how many podcasts or webinars I listen to and go, oh my God, that's so good. What do we know about how this thing operates that prevents us from applying the information? The answer is most information is gathered in short-term memory. Just because you hear you and I now and you get emotionally excited and you high five and you promise your girlfriend or boyfriend or husband or children you're going to make vows of amendment, it's the same old lawbreaker that's making those vows. And it's not because it's your fault. It's because 95, 98% of our behavior, 95, 90% of our thoughts, 95, 90% of our emotional patterns are repetitive patterns that operate automatically. And that's because of a place in the brain called the striatum. So the striatum is where the seat of our habits are, which is part of the hippocampus. And so when we understand the neuroscience of habits drive behavior, not intentions. Right? So my intention is to apply this. My intention is to use this, and maybe I'll take a little bit of action. So the question then becomes, how do I take a new pattern, whether it's a thought pattern, emotional pattern, or behavioral pattern, and how do I practice it enough that I make permanent patterns? And those permanent patterns, if I practice them enough, like I did learning English, like I did learning math, like I did learn how to drive, like I did learn how to speak, like I did learn how to play any musical instrument, it took practice to make permanent. Once it was made permanent, it's made automatic. That's called automaticity. So it does start with desire, it does start with intention, but this is where the commitment comes into play. Am I committed to creating a permanent pattern that becomes the way I always am? And this is why, take somebody who's a millionaire who loses her money versus somebody who makes $10 million and loses their money. The millionaire has probably an 80 or 90% chance of making it again because they have the patterns. The person who won the lottery doesn't have the pattern except go buy more lottery tickets. So information is great. But you have to back information up with behavioral change. And what we know from some of the newest research on on pattern changes and reinforcement of new patterns is it takes 66 to 365 days.
That was going to be one of my questions.
It creates a new pattern in the brain, cells connecting. So when you refire neurons, the neurons that fire together, wire together. Now, when you have a pattern that fires 1 time, 5 times, 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, 50 times, 100 times, now that pattern doesn't override the other pattern, makes the other pattern atrophy. And when it makes the other pattern atrophy, and this kind of like the new road that you take, the new road that you take, when this one becomes easier than that one, this one becomes the default. So it takes just a little bit more patience, backed by commitment, to go through the change process versus just having the hope and the dream. And that's the difference between setting goals and achieving goals.
Good Lord, John, you are a genius. You are a fountain of wisdom. You have so much insight, so much information, and it is entirely inspiring. And I'm frustrated because we're going to run out of time. Well, I just want you to keep talking for the next 2 or 3 days, and let's record it. And now we have a whole new seminar to sell to somebody. In this short period of time that I have left, let me ask you some more short, pinpointed questions. First of all, the show is called Zero Limits Living. And what I like to ask my guest is the question, do you feel we have any limits? Do we have any limits in life?
I have limits to how fast I can run because of just my biological reasons. So when I have limits to certain things, yes, other things, no. So if I'm going to look at biological capabilities, like I used to do triathlons when I was younger. No matter how hard I trained with a world-class runner, I never could run a 4:30 mile, which is what Jay Smith ran. My best run ever was like 5 minutes and 50 seconds, right? So are there some physical limits? Yes. Are there mental and emotional limits? Just about no. Okay. So every brain, just so we're clear, every brain functionally works the same. People don't think that. Einstein's brain, your brain, Elon Musk's brain, Richard Branson's brain, anybody brain that you might like, your brain functionally works the same. And so what happens is some people learn how to use their brain better. And we know that our brain has 3 core networks and a whole bunch of different circuits. So some people are in their, doubtful me brain or woesy me brain or my excuse brain, and they're not in their default mode network, their imagination, and then go into the executive functioning network. So functionally, since every brain works the same, we are practically limitless. The real question is, how is it that some people could imagine something spectacular and then boldly go after it and not be afraid of what somebody thinks or if they fail, and other people are paralyzed with fear? And every single person who's watching or listening, everyone, I bet you the answer to this question is yes. Have you ever had an idea that you didn't act upon, and sometime in the future go, oh my God, I had that idea. Right. Well, do you know what the difference is? They knew how to take action and deal with their emotions a little bit better than you did. That's the only difference. Now, here's the question. Since we all have emotions, but we're not our emotions, can we learn how to manage our emotions better, like an astronaut, a Navy SEAL, a firefighter, a police officer? Of course we can. So now it's a matter of, are you committed to mastering your emotions, or will you be a victim of them for the rest of your life?
John, you said before we started that I could ask you anything and any questions would go. Yeah. And I love that. But I've been sitting here just riveted to everything you've said, so I didn't have that many questions. But I have this one. And this question is, what is the question you were hoping I would ask, or you've been hoping somebody in some interview at some time would say, John, tell us, and they gave you this question you've been waiting for?
What are you most afraid of?
What are you most afraid of, John?
On Friday of last week, or Thursday of last week, and this will tie in. On Thursday of last week, one of my dear friends and employees called to tell me that he's 58, called to tell me that they're taking him off of all of chemo, all of radiation. He's got colon cancer, liver cancer, brain cancer. They gave him 60 days to live. That was on Thursday of last week. On Saturday, I flew to Toronto to meet with him. On Sunday, we invested several hours together. This morning, he died at 9:42 this morning, which leads me to what am I most afraid of? Having regrets of what I could have done, should have done, wanted to do because I was uncertain, afraid, or had limiting beliefs or didn't believe I deserved it. So that's what I'm afraid of. And because of that fear, I use it as my fuel to never have those regrets. So do I have fears? You betcha. Do I have limiting beliefs? Absolutely. Do I sometimes wonder, I don't ever wonder anymore, do I deserve that? I believe we all deserve that. So I don't have that anymore. I used to have that. So my biggest fear is coming to the end of my life and having these regrets. And our friend, as you know, Jim Rohn, one of my favorite quotes of all time, either you're going to pay the price of discipline in life, or you're going to pay the price of regret. Discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. So for me, I'm prepared to invest in the price of discipline and mastering change so I don't have to live with disappointment or regret.
John, I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you for sharing that. That's a very transparent, vulnerable moment and answer. And I think everybody can relate. I certainly can too. I have a different kind of question for you. Maybe it's different. It's the idea that the last time I saw you was at a movie premiere. It was a few years ago. And it was right before the world kind of went twisted and we had COVID and pandemic and things shut down. How did you handle and how are you handling the pandemic? It's apparently ongoing. So how did you handle it during that time and even now?
Well, listen, I don't think you know this. Maybe you do. When COVID started, a lot of uncertainty. I did a lot of research, a lot of caution and precaution. Didn't know how viral this thing was. Didn't know how severe it was. So I was very, very cautious. In May 2nd of 2000, my mother got COVID. May 9th, she died of COVID. I had to say goodbye to her on mobile phone. I had to have her funeral by mobile phone, which is very different than my vision board had, right? So fortunately, she transitioned easily. On May the 1st, she was in the gym on her mobile phone, FaceTiming me. May 2nd, in the hospital with COVID. So I understand the severity of it. And so my wife and I took all the precautions that we needed to. And interestingly enough, I don't know why today's about death, but 2 years, no COVID. About 2.5 months ago, my father was in the hospital for unrelated illnesses. I flew to Montreal because we knew he was going to die. My brother was there. My sister was there. My brother got there the day before he got COVID. My father died. We got COVID. Couldn't have, a normal funeral. So COVID has impacted our lives in a way. Yeah. But with all that, the only thing that I could really control is me and my immediate family. So I did everything I could to educate myself. I did everything I could to protect myself. And I did everything I could to, for example, use this medium called the internet to reach even more people that were at home. So my business doubled during COVID because I was online with many, many more people. My impact reached greater heights. I had a chance to focus even more on my health, more on my wife, more on my kids. So I took the opportunity to paddle and sail, and guide the sails regardless of where the wind was. And so we fared okay. We had some challenges. We've had friends that have died. We've had family members that have died. But I can only control what I can control. So
that's actually wisdom. And again, I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you for being open about it.
Yeah.
I have a very clear memory of you. You and I and Lisa Nichols and a few other people were in a limo, and we were going from a couple speaking engagements to Canada somewhere. I don't even remember where. This is
Long time ago.
15 years ago, somewhere in there. And I remember talking to you, and you were talking about if your house burned down while you weren't there, you would say, don't call me if you were on vacation or you were on your speaking tour, call the insurance company. And I always remembered it. We have gone through wildfires, we've gone through floods, we've gone through earthquakes, we've gone through COVID, but there was an attitude that you had that I never forgot. It was an attitude of detachment, objectivity, and wisdom. Did you always have that?
No, I learned it. I learned it from my mentors. I know. Are you kidding? No, these were all lessons, philosophy, on how you live your life, what's important, what's not. No, these are things that my younger self wouldn't have any idea how to deal with.
Yeah.
But when you think about what's really important, listen, I get, losing a house, your house burns down. It's devastating, but not as devastating as losing a family member in a fire or a pet. So I learned how to frame things, look at things in a way that I'm not disempowered. So how do I take the things that I cannot control, and how do I frame them in the way? And I'm not saying don't be emotional and feel sad and feel a lot. I absolutely, but not to the point, that it's controlling your life. It's really interesting. Framing, right? Learning how to frame things in a way that you're not devastated by things. And by the way, there's some things, that are going to be devastating.
Right.
And in the moment, or the moments after, the days or weeks after, sure, be angry, be upset, be mad, be furious. And then once you've done that, and then, how do I use this for my betterment, for the betterment of others? And then take the lessons. What did I learn about this, that, his life, her life, what happened, what didn't happen? So how do I frame things so that it doesn't weigh me down like an anchor, because I focus on all the so-called negative or disempowering aspects of it, right? So these are just techniques that I've learned that have weathered the test of time.
Let me ask you a final question here, because I know they're going to pull me out of the studio here, but I don't want to go. You are brilliant. I'm having so much fun learning from you and being reminded of things from you. I'm very grateful, John. Thank you for making this time.
Anytime.
I love time machines. I tried to build one when I was a kid, and I still think about it today. If I did build one and you were able to get in it and go back to talk to the 19-year-old or 18-year-old you before you met the mentor there, what would you tell him? What would you advise him? This might be useful for everybody listening or watching. What would you say to the younger John?
So like you, I've done a lot of spiritual work, whether it's meditation, whether it's medicines, reflection, silent retreats, a lot of introspection. And I would say to the younger John, every moment is really perfect, even though you can't see it right now.
Very good. Very good. John,
and believe that, right? And believe that.
Right. Right. Wear that one. Walk around with those as a new philosophy. John, I apologize. I can't have more time with you. I want to go into the inner side. I want to talk about all of your books. Is the website that I'm giving out the number one place for people to go, or do you want them to get a book?
Sure.
And
if anybody wants to learn with me and some of our other brain experts that are on my faculty, go to myneurogym.com/0limits. myneurogym.com/0 limits, or just go to my website, johnassaraf.com, and check out, I've got videos there and articles there and lots of stuff that you can get for free. Just play around there.
John, I can't thank you enough. I can't wait to see you and your wife and Lisa and I and all of us just get together and have a nice meal.
It would be wonderful, my friend. Nice to connect with you again.
Thank you. Thank you. Everybody, you've been watching and listening to Zero Limits Living. Every week, I bring you information and inspiration to transform your life. This episode was a doozy, so I invite you to rewatch, re-listen, take notes, follow what was said, and expect miracles from doing so. I'm putting all of the episodes, including this one, at ZeroLimitsLivingTV.com. Remember, get your Miracles Coaching consultation. Go to miraclescoaching.com. I want to thank Lux Media Studios for making this happen, Candace Barr for believing in me and this show, Nick for running the cameras and making sure that John and I look good, and all of you for watching, liking, and telling the world about this show. If you're watching on YouTube, leave comments, tell everybody, pass the word, share it, and as I like to say, expect miracles.
Glutathione is a big word. It's the body's own master antioxidant. It's a scavenger for free radicals, bacteria, and viruses. There are no products in the market with the ingredient NASET. NASET increases the production of glutathione that's in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system, elevate sense of well-being, support muscle strength and endurance, cognitive function, and liver support. It helps with increased energy and blood sugar regulation. Get your bottle of GSH Plus from www.salvationnutra.com.